Hey people, what's up? It's your boy Xiaoma. Today we're going to talk about how to get the perfect accent in whatever language you're trying to study. Alright, so a lot of people often ask me, hey, Ari in Beijing. Well, they don't call me Ari in Beijing, but you know what I mean. How do you get such a good accent in Chinese, huh? What are you smoking? Well, it's not really what I'm smoking, but it's more about what I'm doing. So is the ability to learn accent, is that just something you're born with? Is that something you have to be super talented to be able to get? The good news is no. Right? So if you can prove that to yourself by looking at any of these movies where you can see all these Hollywood stars, many of whom honestly probably have less talent than you do, they have to learn all of these accents for whatever role they're trying to do. If they're playing a British actor, they need to learn a British accent. And how do they do that? They spend hundreds of hours with voice coaches and all of this stuff. But the good news is that you too can get some of the benefits of this exact same type of training by yourself on your own, without spending any money, or by spending a very little bit of money, and get very similar benefits. And these methods work, they're true, they've been tested by tons of people, including myself, and I'll give you an example of that. So I recently made a video on the Chinese internet that's getting really popular, where, and I'll link to it in the description, where I go through and I just imitate a bunch of different Chinese dialects, right? Chinese languages, whatever you call them. And so I just go through and do like 10 different totally different sounding dialects. Each one has its own accent, its own intonation, its own sound patterns. And this method that I'm going to describe is the exact method I use to get really good at being able to imitate the sounds of different varieties of Chinese. But again, this can really work for whatever language you're trying to study, and it's definitely not specific to Chinese. So step one is you're going to find a sentence, something spoken, any sentence in that language spoken by a native speaker. And so what you're going to do, preferably it's a sentence that you're interested in, a sentence that you want to commit to memory, and a sentence that you understand, right? So if you don't understand the sentence, you're going to take it down, you're going to break it up into its constituent parts, and you're going to analyze it, and you're going to really try to figure out what makes a sentence tick. The most important thing in this step is going over with a native speaker what the individual parts of a sentence mean, and really trying to get them to emphasize to you what each part of the sentence sounds like, right? Where do these sentences come from? Well, popular movies. Movies are an amazing source, right? So if you really like Ip Man, you like martial arts flicks, take a sentence from Ip Man, right? And memorize it. The important thing is that it's a sentence of uninterrupted dialogue, a sentence that you're interested in, and a sentence that you can break down with a native speaker to really understand. Now, again, to emphasize, it's very important in this first step that you take that sentence and you don't just commit it to memory, but you break it down with a native speaker and you really understand what each part of the sentence is doing. Because if you don't have proper form on this exercise, you're going to fail. You're not going to remember. You're going to memorize it incorrectly, right? So you need to break it down, and you need to really understand with the native speaker and go over it and really understand what each part of the sentence sounds like. So step two is you're going to get the audio for the sentence. Again, this can be either taken directly from the movie, or you can actually have a native speaker record themselves saying the sentence for you, and you're going to get that little piece of audio, right? And you're going to put it on whatever's convenient for you to listen to it, right? So for most people, this is their phone or their MP3 player, but whatever works for you. You're gonna get that little clip and you're gonna put it on your phone. And step three, and this is where the magic happens, you're just gonna listen to that sentence over and over and over and over again. I kid you not, you have to listen to the sentence hundreds of times, right? A lot. You need to be listening to this when you're going out to the supermarket, when you're taking a poop, when you're doing anything, any activity. Just listen to the sentence a lot, right? And at first, the first thing you want to do is you don't want to start repeating it immediately. First, you want to let the audio, let it just wash over you. Let it just immerse yourself in that audio and just feel the rhythms and the intonations, and just let it sink deep into your brain, and let the brain do what it's good at, which is the brain is going to figure it out. Because the more you listen to it, you're going to start to be able to understand it, right? So the first time with your native speaker, when you heard that sentence, you were probably like, what is this person saying, right? You didn't understand it at first, but the more you hear it, you're going to be able to really pick out what each little piece is doing there, right? You're going to be able to really understand you're going to be able to really pick out with your ears what the sounds of each piece in the sentence. And a practical note in this step as well is when this little piece of audio is on your phone, what you can do is just have it set to run automatically. You can do this in the iOS music player, for example. Just have it set to keep playing over and over again. That way you don't have to go and like keep clicking on your phone every time. Just have it set to automatically loop and just put it on and just listen for like an hour or something. And so after you've listened to it maybe 50 times or so, you can actually start trying to reproduce the sounds, right? So you're trying to really imitate the intonations, the pitch, everything about this sentence. You want to try and imitate it as perfectly as possible, because if a native speaker recorded it for you, that means that this sentence is perfect and it's your Bible, and you have to imitate it perfectly. Everything that they're saying, you try and say along with them exactly. And so what you're going to realize in this exercise is that two things are going to happen. One, you're going to get very, very good at understanding this sentence. I don't mean understanding in a necessarily the meaning of it, although you probably will become familiar with the meaning of the sentence, but in the sense that you are going to really understand what makes a sentence tick, how each of the tones work if you're studying a tonal language, how each of the phonemes piece together, how all of the sounds work together to make this sentence. And you're going to be able to, when you hear that sentence, you're going to be like, oh shit, this is what makes this sentence tick. Again, the first time you listen to it, it's going to be like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. It's going to sound like gobbledygook. But you listen to it 100 times, 1,000 times, and damn, you are going to be an expert at that sentence. And the other reason why this exercise is useful is that it's going to build your listening comprehension more generally, because you're going to get more used to the sounds of the language, and you're going to be able to pick out the individual phonemes that make up the individual sound particles that make up the language. And then two, you're going to be probably pretty good at producing it. If you've heard it that many times and you've been trying to follow along, you're going to, the results that you're going to see from this exercise are going to be absolutely remarkable in terms of being able to reproduce that sentence on command. It's really pretty amazing, and it's magical. And the brain is able to do this stuff all by its own, and this is what the brain is built to do, is built to imitate languages. So you do this with one sentence, you do it with 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and you just keep doing this, and I guarantee you will see improvements in your ability to imitate the accents of whatever language you're studying. Guaranteed, or your money back. And I guess this is free, but your money back anyway. That's all I've got. You should probably subscribe, or you should definitely subscribe. Yeah, screw that. Subscribe, and also go check out the link to the video that I made using these very techniques in the description sections. Again, imitating a bunch of Chinese dialects that I had no familiarity with before, and just basically through repeated listening, was able to get myself to a point where, at least from the comments, people are saying it sounds kind of like what the actual dialect is supposed to be. So, see you guys next week, and peace out.